tonight's episode of Dope Money News. My name's Carl, I'm your host, and I appreciate you guys watching. So tonight's episode is about how to test your stash, see if it's laced with fentanyl, see if it's cut with fentanyl. And there's a reason why I'm doing this episode, because I was reading in the paper that a couple people died last week, or the week before actually now. It's been 2 weeks, but just a couple weeks ago, a couple people died because they thought they were buying crack, when in fact they bought fentanyl. And, you know, it's really hard to tell what you're buying nowadays. Almost everything's a polysubstance. Hardly anything is just coke or just meth or just this or just that. Almost everything's cut with something, and a lot of it's all, fentanyl or some kind of really addictive opioid. And, I figured out a way that, people can tell, for real cheap, without taking your drug to some public place and getting it tested, I used to use a lot, and there was no way I was taking my shit to some place and giving some of it to them so they could test it. I mean, it wasn't really part of my plan. So I'm sure other people are like me and they don't want to just take their shit up to some other harm reduction site and have them test it for them and shit. So, but here's what you can do, okay? So the urine test strips they use for urine, they can test for very small amounts of fentanyl, the fentanyl can be very diluted and it'll still find it in there. So, I mean, you can actually just rub these little test strips in some dope and it'll tell you if there's fentanyl in it or not. That's the incorrect way of doing it. The correct way of doing it is, of course, to dissolve a little bit of your dope in water and then dip the strip in the water like you normally would dip into pee. But these test strips are incredibly cheap. I mean, incredibly cheap. I found 4 different sites. You can buy the Discover Plus fentanyl test strips for, you get 25 for $38. They're called Discover Plus 1-panel dip card. They have the Precision DX 1-panel dip cards. They just test for fentanyl. That's all they test for. But you get 25 for $26 of that. You can buy one card at a time. You buy Discover Plus 1-panel dip card, $1.53. Right off Amazon. They do have the 12-panel dip cards. It'll test for 12 different drugs. They're about $4 a piece. If you want to know exactly what you're taking. But the main thing is, knowing if you're taking fentanyl or not. Because if you're doing meth and it's got fentanyl in it, I mean, that's a big difference. You want to know that. You want to have Narcan available. You want your buddies around you, your family, your partner, whoever. You want them to know that you're getting ready to do some fentanyl, and they should know how to use the Narcan, and there's steps you can take to really help save lives. Every year, the percentage of deaths goes up from overdose on opioids, and right now they say there's about 100% better chance of dying from an overdose of meth than there was 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, say, I'm just making up numbers here, say 1,000 people died in the month of October 5 years ago. This year, it's like 100% better chance that you're going to die of an overdose of meth because it's got fentanyl in it and shit. All the polysubstances. I mean, not only is meth cut with fentanyl, but it's also been cut with xylazine, which is a horse tranquilizer, benzos, like Xanax, volumes, shit like that. And to be honest, Narcan doesn't do anything for benzos or xylazine.